Hello, welcome to Practically Magick, and I am one of your hosts, Courtney Pearl.
I'm Jaime Osbar.
We're here on this week of Halloween we've been waiting for. Yay!
Yay.
Look, wearing my Jack Skellington today.
Yeah, so I have a Jack Skellington tattoo. Give him a favorite.
Yep, I wore it just for you.
Oh,
I thought of you. I was like, I know Jamie's her favorite. That's what I'm going as this year is Sally.
Are you?
Yeah, my husband has a Jack Skellington costume he's had for years, and that's kind of been his go-to. Like, I don't have a costume, I'll just wear that. But he's perfect for it. And we actually tailored the suit. Had my mom sew it in, like take it in. He's very thin and tall.
Nice.
And then he has like the whole full head. So when he's worn it out, people like take pictures with him.
Oh,
they
cool.
think he's the Jack Skellington, but we've never dressed up with him. So the kids are going to be lock, shock, and barrel. Well, they were going to be lock, shock, and barrel, but we, one of them wanted to be the Oogie Boogie Man. So I don't know which is which, but we have two of them. And then the Oogie Boogie Man.
We probably have the skeleton and the devil.
Yes.
Because the witch is a girl.
The witch is a girl. I mean, which I was absolutely fine with one of them being a witch. I was like, does anybody want to be her? And they were like, no.
No, nothing.
Not this time.
Yeah. I know, but we dressed up as a family one year because I've got two boys and a girl. So my husband was Jack, I was Sally, and the lock, shock, and barrel. And I kind of forced it on everybody. So it was fun. We did it once.
Just once. Just humor mommy for one.
But then I took the mask and I hung them on our wall
above
their school pictures.
That's cute. That's an all year long decoration, I think.
Yeah.
So we just had our witches night out on Saturday night. Speaking of decorations, because I decorated the entire event solely in my own home decor.
Yes.
And I made sure to tell everybody that. I was like, this is just my home decor, guys.
All your stuff.
This is what my house looks like. Am I not magical?
Yes.
Isn't that special? We had such a fun time. I think it went really well. I was also asked to go and talk at the Daybreak Diversity and Inclusion Group had a little gathering, and I was asked to come and talk about Samhain because one of them wanted to show everybody that, there was a Halloween before a Halloween and where some of those traditions came from. So I thought, what a great topic for our podcast episode today. We're going to talk a little bit about pre-Halloween. Halloween. What is Samhain? What is All Hallows Eve, and how did that begin? I won't go too far into the history of it because I think you can go to a lot of places for that. But I thought it was interesting that my son came home from school the other day and he's like, "Oh, my teacher taught us about Samhain," and I was like, "Really?
What did you learn?
Do tell. What did she say about it?" And he kind of went into some of the things that you typically hear, which are like, oh yeah, we dress up in scary costumes because we're scaring away spirits. We're scaring away evil spirits. And I said, false. Just kidding. I didn't say that.
Let me correct you on that one.
False. Actually. But I did say, that's just a lot of the post-Christian influence of that interpretation. I think that when you go back farther than that, it being a ancient indigenous peoples practice of Northern Europe and where that comes from, there's a lot of, rather than it being about evil spirits, which again, I think is sort of a Christian influence. I think when the church spread across Europe and around the world and colonized the entire world, I think they were like, oh, this holiday, this pagan heathen celebration or festival, there's these evil spirits about, and anything kind of connected to the natural world was seen as evil. So we have to scare that away. We'll dress up as scary things to scare away. Or, this is rebranding something that they had done for, who knows, thousands of years before that. So, if a teacher ever wants to give me a call, wants me to come in and teach a little something.
You actually want to teach facts.
I want to teach facts,
Yeah.
Maybe get a hold of me.
I personally don't know a whole lot about Samhain. And it's interesting because the way that it's spelled doesn't look like the way that it's
Mm-hmm.
pronounced at all.
Yeah.
So
we're here to
we're here to learn. I'm here to
learn
learn.
and
You can
educate. Yeah.
teach me. And
Well, a lot of people would say, Jamie, that you're a baby witch. I think
Mhm.
that's a term I hear often. I don't love that term. And I know a lot of people who don't love that term because it implies that you really don't know what you're doing and that there's this hierarchy about it.
Mm.
I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think that it's just about tapping into like your own power and what that means inside of you,
Learning what resonates.
learning what resonates. And so some of this might, as you learn about the actual factual things about it, history and whatnot, you might start to go, oh, that's really interesting. I'd like to dive more into that.
Mm-hmm.
I did because when I first started learning about the different Wheel of the Year, or sometimes called witches' Sabbats, but that's not entirely accurate. It's just festivals and celebrations throughout the year. I found it to be incredibly powerful in that tapping into what was going on in the seasons is like a mirror of what's going on with us.
Mm.
So once I started to say to myself, oh, this is another mark of the turn of the wheel. Like here we are at Samhain, the next is Yule. I know it's really hard for us to grasp that when Samhain comes November 1st, the next 6 weeks turn of the year is going to be Christmas, Yule, right?
Mm-hmm.
It makes it all go fast. But I also loved, it helped me kind of come to grips with the descent into winter rather than it being depressing or getting, feeling that kind of closed in claustrophobic seasonal depression that you get during winter. It started to make me feel kind of excited about it because I got to not just celebrate Samhain for one day, but like Samhain is that entire season. And then it's Yule, and Yule has its whole other traditions and all of these symbology, folklore, all of these things that go with it. And that is only the start of it. And a lot of people don't realize, and we'll talk about this another time when we talk about Yule, but it's the start of the season. Like Christmas Day was supposed to be the first day of Christmas. So, you know how everybody gets depressed in January, or like you start to feel like, oh, all the fun is over.
Yeah, after the holidays, it's that lull.
Mm-hmm.
The weather is cold.
And then you have like 4 more months of cold.
Depending on where you are, it's snowy, but it's, it's just that time of year. But I think the way that we learned that, right, that Christmas is one day, it's this big celebration, and then what? And then we just sit and wait for the warm weather to roll back in.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a whole lot that, at least I was ever taught during that time to focus on. But as I'm learning more about astrology, and I'm learning more about the pagan rituals, I'm like, man, that makes so much more sense, and it resonates a lot more deeply with me. So I'm like, why? I have a lot of questions why we do what we do. But as I'm learning more about these things, I can see like they took one thing and they were like, we're going to make this one thing a big deal. And then we're going to forget the rest of it because we don't want people to know any of that stuff. So I love that I'm learning it. And yeah, I don't know that baby witch, but I hear that term a lot.
Yeah.
I don't really identify as a witch per se. And it's not that I think that it's negative or anything. It's just like, it doesn't really resonate for me.
Yeah. Not your
Not my vibe. Yeah. But
so you say. Other people might disagree. That's okay.
Mhm.
She just doesn't know yet. It's fine. It's okay.
And that's okay. I'm not against it. I'm totally open-minded.
I just think, and especially Witches Night Out, when I stood there like looking at everybody coming in, and of course it was fun. We were all dressing up like witches. I look at these women and I think every single one of them is this powerful, amazing woman stepping out of the shadows of a husband or father or brother or even son, of previous generations, and just being like, I'm here to take on my identity, my power, and make something of myself. I'm here to celebrate with my fellow witches, my fellow women, and figure out who I am. And I just think that is incredibly witchy. I don't think that it has to be a vibe. I don't think it has to be pagan. I just think it's a whole other thing to me. So when I see that, I'm like, every single one of you is witches. And I told one of the ladies that was there that night, she was like, oh, because I kept calling her a witch, and she was like, oh, that's so funny. And then later I said, you understand that I take that as a high compliment. Like that to me, to be called a witch is a sacred calling. It's a compliment. My kids tell their teacher for like, what's your parents do? They're like, my mom's a witch. And the teachers are like,
Oh,
that's not very nice. That's not a nice thing to say about your mom. And I'm like, oh no, they're correct. And
yeah, they're proud.
and we're proud of it. And
Yeah.
it's not necessarily Wiccan, which is the first question I always get.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, you're Wiccan. No, you don't have to be Wiccan to be a witch, and you don't have to be a pagan to be a witch. You don't have to be. I mean, it's a term all on its own, I think. But I told this woman, I'm like, no, it's a compliment. I think of it as a person um, who is empowered, a person who uses their voice and um, claims who they are and shows up authentically. And she's like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Thank you so much. That's amazing. And I thought that's what I wanted people to walk away with Witches Night Out was, yeah, we're having a great time. We love dressing up like witches during the season, but it's also about walking away going, yeah, I am who I am, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah. Removing the stigma of the term witch.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think most people, and I'm guilty of this, learning to see it in a different light. But when I hear the term witch, I think of Salem. I think of the burning of the witches,
Those poor women.
those poor women, that whole generation of people and their misunderstanding and how it's carried into where we are now. It's
Yeah.
obviously not the same. We're not burning people, but
It,
in a different way we are,
it's
right?
not gone, the days of witch hunts. I mean, the days, and that's why a lot of us who are in this community will talk about the witch wound too. We'll talk about
Mhm.
how it's prevalent in our society. We all have the witch wound, whether we call ourselves a witch or not. But the witch wound can sometimes look like fear of betrayal from your fellow women,
Mm.
like the competition between women, the I'm too afraid to really be vulnerable and open up to another woman because they might betray me.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that comes from generational trauma of the witch hunts, of what that was like to be every woman for herself. Because if you're seen as even the slightest bit different, and most of those women were targeted because politically or economically they had something, the men in power had something to gain from accusing those women.
Mhm. Or
A
the
lot of
women who accused those women
Mhm.
wanted what they had.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Ugh.
Or it was just the outcasts of society. It was the women who were poor, the women who were in some cases more outspoken than the other women. Like if they uh, a lot of the stories where they had been seen yelling at somebody, um, mad at somebody, showing anger in some way at
So,
potentially usually a man.
someone who upset them.
Yeah. I mean, it could be anybody, really. Just if they showed that, then if something happened, they were the first to be targeted. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, I saw goody so and so yelling at the town drunk for being drunk.
So she caused all of
So
this.
she caused her cows to die or whatever,
Yeah.
So yeah, there is absolutely that. And I think it's really powerful to know that, so that as we fight the patriarchy, we can be aware of where that shows up for each of us.
Well, and being aware enough to know that we can build each other up, we can support each other. We're not in competition with each other.
Mm,
Like I can have what you have, you can have what I have. We can all have what we want, what we need in this life. We don't have to push somebody else down or take it away from them in order to have it.
yeah,
Right? That
we're
whole
so
mindset.
powerful
And yeah,
together.
yeah, we're way more powerful together. If we come together and we work together to build the the world the way it should be, the way want it to be,
Mm-hmm.
then we'll actually be able to achieve that. But if we're constantly pulling the rug out from under each other and we're second guessing each other and we're sabotaging each other, then it's only going to set us back, back, back. And I kind of feel like that's kind of where we are right now in the United States,
Yeah.
is we're allowing this tyrannical person to sow discord,
Mm-hmm.
not just amongst women, but amongst us as human beings. And now that's kind of bringing that witch wound, right?
Yeah.
Like
The
that
fear.
whole fear of,
Oh, and there was just a recently released book. I wish I had the name and author. I don't have it with me, but I just saw an article about it where they were it's it's on a trending, it's on an uptrend, so it's on its way to bestseller, but it's like paganism, something about pagans ruining the country or something. And then it was like, this is why we have a
mm,
godless country, because of pagans
mm,
and the rise of pagans, basically. And I thought, how hypocritical
right.
to say that pagans, which essentially just means people who believe in the spirituality of nature and the earth and the sky and natural things, is ruining a country that was colonized by Christians, taken over by Christians, and has been dominated by Christians, and in the worst ways, in the way that is disrespectful to the land, to the people who were originally here, and all of that. So it's interesting because while this book gets more and more popular, you realize that the days of witch hunts and being accused of being godless, uh, they're not over. Like, we're not past that.
No.
It's like repeating itself. So there is this, I mean, even just to be on a podcast talking about my beliefs or what to be putting that out there into public, it's a little bit scary because you're like, well, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely believe that you can be both Christian and pagan. I consider myself to be that, if that, and that's the thing when going and not reconstructing, it's the word I want to use. Kind of decolonizing ourselves and coming to a new understanding of these holidays like Christmas. A lot of the people in my circle have embraced Yule because they feel like this is what my ancestors did and this is what I feel connected with. And that's great. And they felt a sadness and a despair in letting go of certain Christmas traditions that they no longer feel resonates with them.
Right.
But there was this grief, like, that's what I've always done. Growing up, watching my grandmother set up the nativity for Christmas. And those are such fond, beautiful memories. And now I don't know what to do. Now I don't feel like Christianity resonates with me, but I don't know how to get that back. And so having Yule traditions do that for them is like a healing. It's like, I'm going to go back further than when Christianity was influencing my family line and do what was maybe traditional for my ancestors before Christianity.
Right.
And so we're bringing that back. I myself don't feel like I have to have one or the other. I feel like the Christian nativity story is just as cool and powerful as the stories of Greek mythology and Persephone and Demeter, for example. I tell those stories too. So I tell the story of Christmas to my kids. And I don't think that there is a hard line of like, it has to be this or that. And we're not devil worshippers.
Yeah. I know
I have a lot to
it's
say about that.
interesting too when we talk about what's evil, what's not evil, what's perceived as evil. Because when we talk about like angel numbers,
Mm-hmm.
and I do a lot of angel numbers in my pricing, right? If I can do the triple number,
Yep.
I will. And there's this one piece that I have in here that for a long time I had priced at 666, but it was throwing people off. So I changed it to 667. And it still hasn't sold, which is fine, the bigger pieces, but I'm just like,
How much people put an
yeah,
emphasis on that.
right. And like the number 13 and, these numbers, they have
Mm-hmm.
this negative connotation. Where did that come from? It came from somebody labeled it that way, and then it was widespread, right?
Yeah.
666 is an angel number.
Yeah.
And even if you think about it, if it represents Satan, what is Satan? He's an angel.
Right.
He's a fallen angel, but he's
In
still
that
an angel.
mythology.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I mean, it's all just
It's like
a symbol. It's an energy.
You can believe what people tell you, and you can say, oh, well, everybody says 666 means that I'm worshiping the devil. Or you can look into it and you can go, actually, it doesn't represent that. And I can make it represent something else for me.
And in numerology, 6, even just the number 6, or they might, and I only know very little about numerology, but they might add the 6, 6, and 6, and then add those 2 numbers together to get another number. And so then whatever number that represents, that has a whole other meaning.
Right.
And it's not going to be of the devil, but that's, again, you can assign meaning to anything. And what really matters is, what do you choose to assign the meaning to, and how do you resonate with it? And if people want to believe that that's what that is, then that's what it will feel like for them.
Right.
I'm going to let you pull a card.
These are really cool.
So this is the Seasons of the Witch Oracle deck. And I believe I now have the complete collection. I slowly, over the years, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to get this one, I'm going to get that one. But they do have one for each of the Wheel of the Year.
Oh, okay.
So
this one's for Samhain.
This one's for Samhain. This is probably one of I think the first one I got was Beltane, which is May Day, May 1st. And then they have, the full Wheel of the Year. And so I love to use these cards specifically for my seasonal altar. So I have in the middle of my house, where everybody can interact with it and engage with it. I have an altar that I change out for the seasons, to change out the crystals to match what's going on in that season. And so this is perfect, because then I can have the kids, they get to pick the cards and then display them on the altar. And I love these because you really don't have to use the guidebook, and you can read it intuitively, like with the picture and what you're feeling with it, but it comes with a little inscription. So we'll read that.
Also, these are really pretty. They're like the red
metallic.
Red foil. They're cool.
I'll show you.
Altar. A sacred devotion, worship, skin deep, rising from the ash, the water she keep.
I'm going to show that up close so you can see. Yeah, I loved these decks starting out because of the artwork. I really just think it's really artistic and beautiful. Each one has a completely different kind of color scheme and vibe. And these ones are more dark and, Halloween-y or broody and stuff, which I love. And we were just talking about the altar. I teach a class on altars and sacred spaces, because I think that, again, it can have this connotation like the altar is where blood sacrifices are made or whatever.
Murder people or animals, and you drink the blood. Oh gosh.
Yeah. When actually it's just a space made sacred, like, with intention. This is a space I choose to come to connect. That's the simplest way I can put it. Connect to self, connect to source, connect to land. That's what I use it for. That's what I teach. And it can be set up. There can be many different kinds of altars, but going back to specifically Samhain, I wanted to mention, because we were talking about, going back to pre-Christian influences and things like that. I wanted to tell my son, when he said the teacher was talking about Samhain, I said, you notice that in a lot of the stories that they told kids, in the fairy tales and the folk tales after a certain time, they liked to represent things that were natural in the natural world as evil. The devil always lives in the forest, if you notice.
Yeah.
Right?
Somewhere dark.
If it's a wild and untamed thing, creature, or, wolves, for example, is always the big bad wolf in the story. In the fairy tales, it's if anyone's going out into the woods, they're warned against it. That's where evil happens. And you see that a lot as you see Christian colonizing the whole world as they went west and we came to America and the American folklore spanned west. We see that more and more. It was pegged as something, if it's in nature and it's natural, it hasn't been tamed by us humans who are above all that because we are God made. We are like the children of God, right? We are better than all of it.
Yeah, but if you really think about it,
we dominate it.
Who created the animals? Who created the forest?
Yeah.
In Christianity or any sort of religious sense, this was all created by God.
Yeah. So, doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
It doesn't make any sense because if you and
you're like, where does that logic work?
We're not supposed to question it, right? We're not supposed to go, well, how does that make sense? No, you just have to make it make sense. But really, if you break it down, and I've had these moments of connection with people that are in a religion. Like I had someone approach me when I was being a vendor and I was selling my crystals, and I had someone come up and they go, "Did you know that Joseph Smith gave his wife Emma a ring with carnelian in it?" And I was like, I did not know that, but that is very cool. And then that opened up a conversation with my mom, and she actually found a picture of her ring with a reddish orange stone in it. And I was like, Mom, that's carnelian. And she's like, oh, okay. But she's like really willing to just kind of blow it off because crystals, you're not supposed to use crystals for whatever reason. Like
for meaning,
right, for
healing
purpose, because you're not supposed to, what is it? You're not supposed to use any sort of talisman, right?
Okay.
Like like the Mormons don't use a cross.
That is hilarious to me.
Only worship God.
The Mormon Church was founded on deep, deep folklore, magic. And I mean, Joseph Smith was essentially a traveling magic man.
Yeah. Right.
And now it's like,
and where did he have this big epiphany?
Yeah.
In the woods.
In the woods.
In the woods. So how did they know that that wasn't God? Maybe that was the devil.
Yeah.
Because if the devil lived anyway,
yeah.
It's a
folklore around this story and everything is just hilarious to me because, he was descended into darkness first. He was like being pulled by Satan. And then he like released himself from that. And then God showed up and it's this whole thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember listening to all of that. And I mean, part of it is to show that humans are dominating the natural world, but also that we deserve to manifest destiny, right? Like this is our calling. God has given us these things. God has given us these
dominance over everything,
all the creatures and all of the plants and everything like that. So going against, what was heathen or what was, savage, which would have been indigenous people's practices, we are one with nature. We are stewards of everything that we are on and use. It is our job to take care of it. It's our calling to be one with, and that everything is kin to us. So in going back to Samhain and the traditions of Samhain, it wasn't a time for casting away evil spirits. And it was more of the veil is thin during this time. The Celtic beliefs believed that in-between spaces were the most sacred. So you'll notice that Samhain, Imbolc, Lunessa, Beltane, I said those out of order, but those are the 4 fire festivals of the Celtic calendar, and they are all not a solstice or an equinox. So those were essentially the most sacred times. And that just meant they were between times, and that's when the veil was thin between worlds, either between our world and the next, the spiritual world, or like the fairy realms, the other beings that can be. So Samhain was a time to connect with spirits. It was not a time to be like, ward them away.
Go away, you evil spirits.
Evil spirits. And evil spirits can be represented too with fairies because fairies are very much associated with nature spirits. Like they're the ones who take care of the trees and they take care of the earth and the minerals. So it's a time to connect with those spirits, not a time to push them away and protect yourself from them. And in doing that, we do that and we appease them with offerings, which, turned into candy, giving out candy. But it was, leaving out an offering or food. You still see it in like Dia de los Muertos and how they celebrate is we have an ancestor altar. We put their photo on the ofrenda and we put their favorite treats out and we give them food. So some of that is still lingering in our traditions. We can still see that.
And starting to come back
Yeah,
into
thank
kind
goodness.
of mainstream, kind of like the Disney movies and things like that are like Coco.
I love Coco.
That was actually it's really interesting. That was one of the ways that I learned what Dia de los Muertos was and like how it was connected to Halloween and this time of year, Samhain and all of those things. So that's a little, I don't know if it's sad, but I love that it exists so that people
To
like
show us,
me
yeah.
I'm so blind to all that. I just was conditioned to that's not the way we see things. That's not the way we practice things. So it was, well, I'm not going to watch that then because that's not how I was taught. So opening my mind and even just watching a Disney movie that showed a different way to look at
Death
and how we connect with it and how we connect with the people that have passed. It's not just getting down on your knees and asking God. You can actually connect with people that have passed on your own. You don't have
and call
to.
them for help and have them be your guides. A lot of the people in my group of the Nourishing Kin, we meet every wheel of the year. We're actually meeting November 1st this year because it's
On a Saturday.
Samhain, and that's when Samhain is. But it has been so cool to get that experience of it's not just their culture that did that. Our ancestors did that.
Right.
Our ancestors made ancestor altars. We forgot that part of it. And we reclaim it and we make these little luminaries with our ancestors. We bring in a photo, like a printed photocopy, so that we can glue it onto the little white paper bags. And then we put a tea light candle in it. And we have this little ritual that we say something about that ancestor. And so my family started doing that during Thanksgiving. We kind of rebranded Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
as Samhain.
As you should, because, yeah.
But we have a feast and we do an ancestor altar. And I ask everybody in the family to bring a picture of someone that they want to invite to our feast. And so they might come with somebody, that's in our family tree, or it may be someone more recent that passed away, but we make their little luminary. And then we say, this is so-and-so. This is what they did in their life. This is what they liked. This is, which for the kids, I absolutely love because then they get to hear things about their relatives that they've never met, they would never know, or their namesake. Some of them are people that they were named after. And then we say, welcome, so-and-so, and we light the candle and put it in the luminary. We set it up. We set up a little kind of a makeshift ancestor altar for the evening. And then we put food out for them. Like we make a plate with the feast food that we're having and their favorite things. And we put them out on the altar. And I'm telling you, it has amplified the connection and the spiritual side of having a feast during this time of year in the harvest season. I think that it's amazing that it doesn't have to be celebrated just at Halloween or on November 1st, but throughout the whole next 6 weeks is like, it's Samhain time. It's time for all of this descent into death and being comfortable with death. I think that's what Dia de los Muertos kind of shows, or the movie Coco and other movies like Corpse Bride. I love how my favorite scene in Corpse Bride is when the dead people from the dead world, that's not what it is. They come up to the land of the living for the wedding and the living people are sitting at, I just have to say, I love how that movie shows the land of the dead is so colorful and fun. And then the land of the living is like totally gray.
So gray and black and bleak.
Boring. Victorian times, but they're all sitting at the table and then the dead, these skeletons and stuff like pop up out of the fireplace and they're coming up out of the world of the dead. And the living people start screaming and running around terrified. But then there's that little boy, and he just looks at the skeleton, and he's kind of looking scared. And then it gets closer and closer and closer, and he goes, "Papa?" And then they hug.
Yeah.
I cry every single time.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Every time. Because to me, that's what it's really about.
Right. When you step back from the fear mongering
Yeah.
and you look at that and you go, and then that little boy opens that door and everybody stops and goes, "Oh, that's my husband. That's this person that was in my life." And they're like, they put
they're
the fear aside
reunited.
and they're reuniting with these people that come up from the underworld. I don't know. Yeah, the underworld has a bad connotation to it too, but like, yeah, because is that really
But what if it wasn't like that?
Yeah.
What if we saw everything completely different? What if it was like, yeah, they're skeletons. They're our family. They're our people. And it's not scary. And I will just say, if you have something you want to watch about death after this, go to the Welsh channel, and they have, I think, on BBC, you can watch it. They have a documentary by my favorite druid, Christopher Hughes, wrote Druidry and is head of the Druidry Anglesey Order. I'm probably saying that wrong. But anyway, he did a documentary called Guru Gura Chris, which means death with Chris. And he several episodes, he goes to different countries and gets comfortable with their ways of death because he's a Welsh mortician, and he's like, the way we do death is like, hide it. Like, it's very somber. It's like, you know, usually closed casket, or like, it's just kind of like, okay, that person died, but we don't want to look at it. We don't want to. And then we just kind of stop talking about them, and we just kind of stop, like, you know, their grave is dug and their tombstone is up, and that's it. And so he had such a way of the way his culture dealt with death. He was like, there's got to be other ways of seeing this. There's got to be other ways. So he wanted to look at, in one episode, he goes to India, and their tradition is cremation. And he wanted to see, what do they do? How do they handle it? What does the family do? How do they grieve? Some cultures, you know, they bury their dead right away. Some, they have the dead in their house
for 7 days or something
a
like that.
while. There was one, I can't remember exactly where it was, but he went to visit them, and they had their 2 relatives had passed. And they have a certain way that they do it, like where they keep them and how they do it. But they are open casket bodies in their home for like a month. It was like 40 days or something.
Gosh.
I mean, it's like, yeah. And they're like talking to them and feeding them. They give them food. They don't believe they actually leave their body, like the spirit is gone, until their funeral. And they don't plan the funeral until a certain number of days after. So all these different beliefs around death. And then he goes to Mexico. And I thought the most fascinating part of the whole thing was watching a family let him come with them as they went to their loved one's crypt. And they're all buried above ground, and they're in these little, what do you call them? But like open mausoleum, but they're open. And in America, we would absolutely die.
Horrified.
Like,
We'd be like,
it's
oh,
horrifying to us, to our culture. But what I found fascinating was this grandmother, and she was bringing her children and her grandchildren. And they do this every year. They go to her mother's crypt. They take the box out. They open the box. All of the bones and skull are there, and they clean.
Wow.
And they take out, like, and the grandmother's teaching her grandkids, like, this is the femur bone. This was her leg. And she hands out bones to the children, and the children clean.
Oh my goodness.
I know. And it's pretty graphic. Like, for us watching it, we would be like, oh. They even like have a warning on the documentary, like, just know that this is what you're going to see.
Yes.
However, how beautiful for these children to grow up with such a close proximity to death.
And to know, like, after they pass, they're still going to be taken care of.
Yes.
Like, in our culture, it's like you die, you go in the ground, and maybe we'll come visit your grave every once in a while. and maybe we'll tell stories about you and things like
Yes.
that, but it's never like there's a dedicated ritual where we remember you
Yeah.
and we take care of what's left of you here on this earth.
Yep.
It is macabre. It is like, for hearing that, I'm like, oh,
I know.
ooh,
It
ugh.
is. It's shocking. I'm not going to lie. But
But
it was beautiful.
it
I was
sounds,
like
yeah.
tearing up, crying. I was like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
Because the children don't have any fear at all. No grossness, no like, ew,
Yeah.
which would be like, ew.
There's no
But
repulsion
they're
there
just like
because they're
cleaning it
taught.
and then they're passing it around. And it's this woman. So she's talking in Spanish and she's talking to her family. And the translator is translating to Chris. And Chris is speaking in Welsh because this is a Welsh documentary. It's in Welsh, but you have English subtitles. So I'm watching this and he's saying what she's saying. And she's like, this was my mother. This is what she liked. This is what she did. This is what her life was like. It was her own mother.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? I just was like floored with the comfort of it all. Like this is the loving, caring touch of this, these bones, and then placing them back in the cloth with her name like stitched onto it and stuff. And then they close the box and they're like, we'll come back next year, and they put it away and everything's open so people can go in and get their loved ones out, and they do this. And it's very traditional. It's very common practice.
Right.
A lot of them do this. And I don't know if it's just for Dia de los Muertos that they do this, but this is something that's very common in like, especially remote country areas of Mexico where old traditions are still kept. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So in watching Coco and Corpse Bride and movies like that, where you realize that, you know, we're watching a horror movie or a scary movie where we're scaring ourselves of zombies who come back to life, or we're confronted with death. I think that the scariest part of that for people is that they are confronted with death.
Yeah.
And death is uncertain and we don't know.
Right. You bury it and you walk away from it.
Yeah.
And you don't
because it's uncomfortable.
think about it. You don't talk about it until it happens to somebody else. And then you go through that whole process and then you put them in the ground. And yeah, that, I guess I never really realized how much that didn't resonate with me. Right. Like,
Yeah.
it's just how it works. It's just how we do things. I never really thought about a different way, but like being in this space of different forms of spirituality, different ways of going through life and learning how other people have done it, how other people continue to do it. I'm learning what resonates with me and how I want to change my perception and how things are done, right? Like the traditional Thanksgiving feast. It's never been great. We killed all the Indians. Let's celebrate it. It's never been that thought for me, but it's also never been, how can this serve a purpose? It's more of just bringing family together for me. That's all it was bringing people together and having a good meal and talking about the things that we're grateful for in our lives.
Yeah.
So it was never just like a complete dismissal of that, but it was never recognized as we're celebrating something very terrible.
Yeah.
Very awful.
Where this original, or where this Thanksgiving holiday like started, and first Thanksgiving and all of that American folklore that we have. And I think it's great to rebrand it and to be actually just honest. Because I know a lot of people there are so uncomfortable with the real history of it that they don't want to address that at all. And I think in order for us to heal as a country and the atrocities that have happened in our colonization of this land, I think it has to be addressed. I think it has to be talked about. I think just saying it, as you did bluntly, we killed all these Native Americans. Like, what, you know, that is what happened.
Let's celebrate it. Now the land is ours, so we're going to make this big celebration, and we're going to smooth things over with. I mean, I guess,
and make us look like the good guys,
right?
These
we didn't
heroes.
Kill them all, but we dominated them. And we said, now you go over here and we're going to take all the land. But before we do that, let's have a meal together.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think a meal fixes the violence that was created and forced upon the land here. So really looking at what that was and what that looked like. Could you imagine being a Native American at that time and living this life of purpose, taking care of the land, taking care of your taking care of each other. And all of a sudden, this whole other type of people come in and go, you're doing it all wrong.
Yeah. Not only are we going to live here now, we're going to tell you how to live your lives. We're going to expose you to diseases you've never been exposed to before.
Yeah.
We're going to, even just in the book Braiding Sweetgrass, I just mentioned this real quick, but it's important. They talk about how crops were planted and things like that. And it was traditional for the indigenous people to have like rice crops and, for example, harvest 2/3 of it or something like that, leaving some of it behind. When white colonists came, they were like, you're wasting food. You're wasting that. You gotta, capitalism at its finest, right? It's like, take all of it. Make sure you harvest every bit of it.
And then take the ground down to its bare minimum.
Yeah.
And
then
it was
ruining the soil.
Continuously use, take.
Yeah.
Right?
And the indigenous people, these tribes, they had been doing it this way for probably thousands of years. There's a reason for doing it this way. That's trial and error. It's science. They knew what they were doing. But they said, that crop that we leave behind fertilizes the soil for next year. It feeds the ducks and the animals, and we're not the only people here, is what they would say. We're not the only people here. Mm-hmm. There's other people that feed off of those crops. Because to them, it's the kinfolk of the, bee nation and the tree nations and the, again, those are people to them, and it should be. Mm-hmm. So, or like, for example, the story of the squash and the beans and the corn that were grown together because they all complement each other just right and give each other the nutrients they need in order to grow. So they're called the three sisters. They planted that way. They had folklore around the three sisters, and they had stories about the three sisters teaching new generations how to plant those together. And then my ancestors came and said, nope, let's just plant rows and rows and rows of corn. Just corn.
Lots and lots of corn.
Lots and lots of corn.
And that's how Nebraska was made.
Yeah. And that's Iowa. So you go, okay, there's rows and rows and rows of corns. They're dying. They're slowly not
growing,
thriving.
Big, yeah.
And they can't figure out why, because there's not enough nitrates in the soil, which the beans gave the corn. And, these plants were supposed to work together. Mm. So that's just something to point out, is there's a lot of wisdom in going back to our traditional roots and why things were done the way they were done. So in Samhain being the last of the harvest seasons, it's the third harvest season. Our Celtic ancestors believed that it was the time when you would stop harvesting. Like by November 1st, anything that was still on the ground or on the trees stayed there. They believed it bad luck. They believed that the fairies, it was an offering to the fairies and to the, again, probably the kinfolk of the natural spirits. Like the pumpkins that are still on the ground, we are not going to harvest them because we're going to let that fertilize the soil. We're going to let that death becomes rebirth. So we have to get comfortable with death, the rot, and the
purpose that serves, right?
Yes. Yeah. Don't be afraid of it. It's a good thing. It's what we need. So
as we're talking about like the earth and the ground, let's talk about hematite.
Mm-hmm.
Hematite is a super, very, very grounding crystal. It's got a lot of weight to it. I love that one so much.
That's interesting. I've never seen that. I show both these.
Yeah. I think a lot of people think of hematite and they think like jewelry, they think rings, they think like those little magnets.
I love hematite.
So as I've exposed myself to more options, more variety of hematite, this sphere that I'm holding has so much weight that like when I put it in my hand, I literally feel myself get grounded.
It is. I love how heavy it is.
Mm-hmm. It brings you super centered. It brings you into yourself. It brings you very present. And that's what I love about hematite. It is great in jewelry. It's great as all of those things. But if you can get yourself like this size piece and just hold it. If you're feeling like you're outside of yourself, if you feel like you're floating, if you feel like you're not able to bring yourself center, grab a piece of hematite and just hold it. Hold it in the palm of your hand and just feel how it brings you center. I didn't grab the card to give you the description that I have for it, but that's my personal description. That's my personal experience. When I got these palm stones and I was going through sorting them, one of them spoke to me and I ended up keeping it because it was so powerful, and it brought me into where I needed to be at that moment. So I still have one. Got a couple of the spheres available. I think that's the last palm stone. And then some of these that she was showing is just rough pieces.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever
natural.
seen the natural.
Yeah, this one is really, really cool because it's like hollow. It's
Yeah.
almost like you.
Oh, yeah. Hold it with your thumb. That's cool.
This one's really cool. So I love hematite for bringing you grounded. Like, it gets you grounded. It brings you center into yourself. It makes you very present and aware of where you are right now. So
yeah, and I mean, I have no official reason to think this, but I do feel like, as we've been talking about death, like descent and death, I feel like this would be a great one for even grieving, or I don't know, when you just need something present with you, present for your grief.
Yeah.
When you're confronting something like that, I just feel like it would be a really good one.
I can see where you're coming from, because I know that when I'm really, really deep in grief for whatever reason, whether it be death, whether it be a change of something that's happening that I have to process, I feel like I allow myself to float, as how I describe it. I don't want to be in my body because it's hurting.
Disassociating.
Yeah, I do.
Like
I
that.
separate myself so I don't have to feel so much of the pain. So I'm learning, and I think a lot of people need to learn to be able to sit with that and let it be what it is. And hematite will definitely do that. And it will support you. It's not going to be like, get back in here, feel this now. It's going to be like, get back in here. Let's see where we are. How can we navigate through this and stay grounded while we do it?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it feels like people who are comforted by the weighted blankets, or wouldn't it be amazing to have a whole blanket with pockets and you just put hematite in it and then it just sat on you? You might have to create something like that. It'll be $1,000.
It'll be a lot of money. Yes. I mean, hematite itself is not a super expensive material, but because it's so heavy, it could, especially in large amounts, could be more. But yeah, so on the website here in the shop, we have these larger pieces. We also have some small tumbled pieces. We also have the magnetic ones that are really cool that kids of all ages like.
Just playing with those is so fun.
Yeah, you just like bring them together, and for me, it's just a way to kind of bring myself present, right? Even if it's those magnets, or if it's the sphere, or if it's the palm stone. It's like, let's be present with where we are right now.
So if you find yourself thinking too much in the past, like too nostalgic, too in grief over things that have come and gone, or too much in the future, which is anxiety for the most part. Like, I have all this to do. I have all this coming up. I've got, and you're like always living in a different time, thinking you have to stress about that, which has been me lately. But I think that's perfect stone for that. Bring you back to now, here, one step at a time. What do I have to do right now? And it's not as overwhelming. It helps you sort that out.
Yeah, super supportive.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be sharing more Samhain tips on my social media. So as we post clips and things from this episode, I will just share some little tidbits about how you can celebrate Samhain in a more traditional way, and how it connects to Halloween. Still love Halloween, still celebrate Halloween just like everybody else, because we love trick-or-treating and dressing up and all the things. Not bobbing for apples, though.
No. Did you ever bob for donuts? Have you ever done that?
No.
They hang them from string.
Oh, that's so much better.
And then you have your hands behind your back. Yeah. The whole putting your face in water, I don't like.
I know. I think they used to do that.
Yeah.
Like kids with makeup on their faces, and then they put it in the water. Every time I was like, whoa,
oh my God,
gross.
Yeah, so I like the bobbing for donuts better. You get the donut with the hole in it. You hang it on a string, and then you have to figure out how to get it in your mouth
Yeah.
without your hands. It's more
Well, that
fun.
sounds way more fun. I think we'll do that with the kids. It'll be fun.
Yes.
So happy Halloween, everybody, and Merry Samhain, and so mote it be, and all of the things. And we'll see you here next time. We're going to be seeing you on Rising Moon Minerals.
Yes. Instagram, TikTok, online, risingmoonminerals.com, all the things.
Yeah. Go on there and check out.
We've got skulls. We have pumpkins. We have ghosts. We have bats. I had some spiders. Those ones went really quick. People like spiders.
Oh,
But
why?
all the crystals. All the crystals.
Are you doing like trick-or-treating here? Do
I
you ever have
yeah.
like kids come
Yeah.
during
So
the week
on
of Halloween?
Halloween, and I've actually been giving out candy to people that come through.
Well, there you go.
So, and
Like, come on
yeah,
over.
I'll probably do like a little tumble on Halloween.
Yeah.
I'll do a little tumble for everybody.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That would be absolutely, my kids would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can find me on Prism Healing. So you can go to prism-healing.com to book your session with me, card readings or energy healings. And you can do those in person or over Zoom. I do both. And you can see all of the really fun events that we have coming up when I do tarot for tips at local coffee shops, when I'm doing classes, workshops, healing through art. I list all those on my website, so you can check that out. And you can follow me for more information on Samhain at Practically Magick Podcast Instagram, which is it's like practically _ magic practice _ podcast, I think is the handle on Instagram. But you can find it. Just type in Practically Magick Podcast. You'll find me. Find us. And then Prism Healing, Prism _ healing is my Instagram handle. And yeah, we just like to thank our sponsors, Sunshine Community and Ride the Wave Media that produces this podcast. Shout out to Lindsay, CEO, and Jess Blaine, who help run this fantastic show that we do. So if you like it, subscribe, follow, share it to a friend, all the things. It'll help support us so we can make more content for you. We'll see you next time, witches and wizards.
Go make magic.
Yeah.